My name is Vesper, and for 7 years I lived in a gilded cage. After a devastating multi-car pileup when I was 16, I was awarded a $15 million medical settlement. But my mother, Regina, didn't see that money as my recovery fund. She saw it as her seed money. She told me the lawsuit was lost, drugged me with supplements that kept me weak and bedridden, and used my wealth to buy a private high-tech island in the Pacific. To the world, Regina is a self-made lifestyle mogul and a devoted mother to her sick daughter. To me, she is a jailer. But Regina made one fatal mistake. She gave me a high-speed internet connection to keep me quiet. She thought I was just browsing social media. She didn't realize I was dismantling her empire bite by bite. The grand opening of her Regina's retreat is tonight, and I'm about to show her that while she bought the island, I own the air she breathes. Regina was always a woman of grand ambitions and zero conscience. When the accident happened, I was a varsity athlete with a full scholarship to a top university. The crash shattered my legs and my dreams, but the court gave me a future, or so I thought. I remember the day the lawyers called. Regina took the phone into the hallway, her voice a frantic whisper. When she came back in, her eyes were red with fake tears. "Vesper, honey, the judge ruled against us. There's no money, but don't worry, your mother will take care of everything." For 7 years, she took care of me by keeping me in a constant state of chemical fog. She moved us to a remote, ultra-modern island retreat she called Solace Isle. It was a masterpiece of glass, steel, and smart technology. Every door, every light, and even the oxygen filtration system was controlled by a central AI hub. "It's for your safety, Vesper," she would say, smoothing my hair before handing me my nightly vitamin drink. "The world is too dangerous for a girl as fragile as you." I believed her until 6 months ago. I had started pocketing my pills instead of swallowing them. My mind began to clear. One night, I dragged myself out of bed and crawled to her office. I heard her laughing. She was on a video call with her offshore banker. "The $15 million was just the start," Regina boasted, sipping a $2,000 bottle of wine. "Vesper's disability has been the best tax haven I've ever had. As long as she stays sick, the foundation remains a nonprofit, and I keep the island. She is my little golden goose." I sat in the dark hallway, my heart pounding against my ribs. The woman who birthed me had stolen my legs, my youth, and my fortune to play queen of a private rock. I crawled back to my room, but I didn't cry. I felt a cold, sharp clarity I hadn't felt since before the crash. Regina thought I was a vegetable. She didn't know that before the accident, I was a coding prodigy. Every day while she was out filming her Morning in Paradise vlogs for her millions of followers, I was working. I used the island's high-speed fiber optic line to build a shadow route in the house's operating system. I found the settlement papers. I found the forged medical reports. I found the offshore accounts where she had hidden $40 million of company revenue to avoid taxes. Regina was planning the Gala of the century to launch her new line of healing crystals. The world's richest influencers and investors were coming to the island. She wanted me to make a brief appearance in my wheelchair, the tragic, beautiful daughter, to pull at their heartstrings and their wallets. "You want a show, Regina," I whispered, my fingers flying across a hidden encrypted laptop I had managed to order piece by piece via drone delivery under a fake name. "I'll give you a finale you'll never forget." I didn't just hack her bank accounts, I hacked the island itself. I mapped every circuit, every smart lock, and every camera. I turned her Solace Isle into a digital web, and Regina was the fly. I waited until the night of the gala. I could hear the music thumping from the ballroom below. I could smell the expensive catering. Regina came into my room, wearing a dress that cost more than my first car. "Smile for the cameras tonight, Vesper," she warned, her voice like silk over a blade. "Don't ruin this for us." "I won't ruin it, Mom," I said, looking her straight in the eyes for the first time in years. "I'm going to make it perfect." She left, confident in her power. She didn't notice the tiny black device I had plugged into the main wall jack. The countdown began. As the grandfather clock in the hallway struck 9 p.m., the gala was at its peak. I could hear the clinking of crystal glasses and the phony laughter of billionaires floating up through the vents. Regina was down there, playing the role of the grieving yet triumphant mother, selling her healing products to people with more money than sense. It was time. I opened my laptop and typed the command, "Initiate lockdown." In an instant, the gentle hum of the mansion changed to a sharp, metallic click. Across the entire island, every heavy-duty smart shutter slammed shut. Every exit was electronically sealed. The bright, warm party lights flickered and died, plunged into a terrifying crimson emergency glow. Downstairs, the music stopped abruptly. I hacked into the ballroom's integrated sound system. "What's happening?" I heard Regina's voice screech over the microphone. "Security, reset the breakers." "The security team can't hear you, Regina, and neither can the mainland. I've jammed every frequency except for the one I'm currently using to broadcast this party to the entire world." On the giant 20-foot LED screen behind the stage, the one Regina was supposed to use to show her product commercials, a progress bar appeared. It reached 100%, and then my face filled the screen. I wasn't the fragile, sick girl they expected. I was sitting upright, my eyes sharp and cold, the glow of my monitors reflecting in my pupils like a predator. "Good evening, guests," I said to the stunned crowd. "Welcome to the real Regina retreat. You've been told this island was built on healing and innovation, but the truth is, this island was built on $15 million stolen from a teenager's mangled legs." I watched Regina on the small window of my screen. She was trembling, her face pale under the red lights. She tried to run for the door, but the smart lock flashed red. She was trapped in her own masterpiece. "Vesper, stop this madness!" Regina screamed at the screen. "You're confused. The medication." "The medication you used to keep me a prisoner in my own mind? Let's talk about that." With a single keystroke, I began the evidence scroll. The LED screen behind her started scrolling through the bank statements from 7 years ago. It showed the $15 million deposit from the insurance company, followed by Regina's immediate transfer of those funds into her private offshore accounts. Then came the forged medical reports. I showed the world the supplements she had been feeding me, powerful sedatives and muscle relaxants that had no medical purpose other than to keep me from standing up. The guests began to whisper. Some were filming with their phones, realizing this was the biggest scandal in the history of the elite. The CEO of a major tech firm stood up and shouted, "Regina, is this true?" Regina was hyperventilating. She looked like a cornered animal. "It's a hack. It's a deepfake. She's mentally unstable." "If I'm unstable, Regina, then why does the island's biometric system only recognize my voice as the primary owner?" I activated the asset liquidation script. Regina always said she wanted her wealth to be fluid, so I've just authorized a mass refund. Every investor here, every customer who bought her fake crystals, your money is currently being transferred back to your accounts. And the $15 million settlement, I've sent that to a global charity for accident victims. "No!" Regina shrieked, falling to her knees. Her empire was disappearing in digital real time. But I wasn't finished. The money was just paper. I wanted her to feel the isolation she had forced on me for 7 years. I've sent the coordinates of this island and the complete folder of evidence to the FBI's Cybercrime Division and the International Maritime Police. They are exactly 40 minutes away. But 40 minutes is a long time when you're locked in a room with the people you've lied to. I turned off the oxygen filtration system in the ballroom, just enough to make the air feel heavy and thin, not enough to hurt them, but enough to make them panic. The doors will unlock when the authorities arrive. Until then, Regina, enjoy the company of your friends. I shut down the video feed. I sat back in my chair, my heart racing. For the first time in 7 years, the fog was completely gone. I didn't feel weak. I felt like a giant. I looked out my window at the dark ocean. Somewhere out there, the police were coming, but before they arrived, I had one last thing to do. I needed to see the look in her eyes when she realized that her golden goose had finally flown away. I grabbed the mechanical bypass key I had hidden under my floorboards, a physical key that didn't rely on the AI. I dragged myself into my wheelchair and headed toward the elevator. The digital prison was collapsing, and it was time for the final confrontation. The elevator descended in a silence that felt heavy and absolute. I could feel every vibration of the machinery through my fingertips. For 7 years, this elevator had been a one-way trip for my mother to come up and patronize me. Now it was my bridge back to the world. When the doors opened into the ballroom lobby, the air was thick with the scent of expensive perfume and cold, sharp fear. The guests were huddled near the reinforced glass walls, staring out at the dark Pacific, watching for the first sign of the authorities. I wheeled myself into the center of the ballroom. The red emergency lights cast long, distorted shadows across the marble floor. Regina was slumped near the stage, her $50,000 dress torn at the hem, her perfect hair a tangled mess. She looked up as I approached, and for a second I saw a flash of the old Regina, the predator. "You've ruined us, Vesper," she hissed, her voice trembling with a mix of rage and disbelief. "Do you have any idea what you've done? We had everything. This island, the fame, the power. It was all for your future." "My future was stolen the day you cashed that check, Mom," I said, my voice calm and steady. "You didn't build this for me. You built this to hide the evidence of what you are, a thief who trades in her daughter's blood." The guests turned to look at us. The silence was so deep I could hear the waves crashing against the cliffs outside. "I loved you," she screamed, a desperate final lie. "You loved the leverage I gave you. You loved the sympathy you got from the world for being a heroic mother. But the world knows now. Every follower, every investor, every person who ever looked up to you just watched you admit that I was your golden goose." Suddenly, the far wall of the ballroom, the great glass window overlooking the bay, was illuminated by a blinding white searchlight. The roar of a helicopter engine thundered above the mansion. Through the red glow, we saw the silhouettes of 3 high-speed tactical boats cutting through the waves, their blue and red lights dancing on the water. The International Maritime Police had arrived. The smart locks on the main doors gave a sharp electronic chirp and hissed open. A team of officers in tactical gear burst in, led by an agent in a dark windbreaker with FBI emblazoned on the back. "Regina Thorne," the agent called out, his voice echoing through the massive room, "you are under arrest for international wire fraud, medical kidnapping, and grand larceny." Regina didn't fight. She looked at the handcuffs being clicked onto her wrists with a dazed expression. As they led her past me, she stopped for a fleeting moment. She didn't apologize, she didn't cry. She just whispered, "You'll never survive without me." "I survived 7 years of you. The rest will be easy." As the guests were escorted out for questioning, the FBI agent walked over to me. He knelt so we were at eye level. "Vesper, I'm Agent Miller. We've been tracking these offshore accounts for months, but we never had a way inside. What you did tonight, it's the most sophisticated digital audit I've ever seen. You're a hero." "I'm just a girl who wanted her legs back," I said softly. The sun began to rise over the Pacific as the last of the boats prepared to leave. The agent told me that they were seizing the island as part of the asset forfeiture, but because the settlement money was legally mine, I would be receiving a massive restitution from Regina's remaining legitimate assets. I didn't want the island. I didn't want the luxury. 3 months later, the headlines had finally died down. Regina Thorne was sentenced to 25 years in a federal penitentiary. The Regina's Retreat brand was liquidated, and every cent went into a trust for victims of medical fraud. I moved to a small, quiet house in a coastal town in Northern California. It's not a smart home. There are no AI hubs or electronic locks, just a simple wooden deck and the sound of the birds. I used a portion of my recovered settlement to undergo a series of experimental surgeries in Switzerland, surgeries Regina had told me were impossible. Yesterday, for the first time in 7 years, I stood up without a brace. I only held the railing for a few seconds, but the ground felt solid beneath my feet. Sometimes I get a letter from the prison. Regina still tries to manipulate me, telling me she's sick and needs me to testify for her parole. I never open them. I just toss them into the fireplace and watch the lies turn to ash. I'm no longer a ghost in a machine. I'm Vesper, and for the first time in my life, I'm walking toward a future that belongs entirely to me. Vesper spent 7 years in a digital cage. She chose to give her stolen millions away to charity rather than keep the luxury life. If you were her, would you have kept the island and the billions, or is a clean start worth more than any amount of money? Let me know in the comments.